Um, Shalom, Apostle Tahar coming back at you with this truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And I'm on the road right now. The Spirit just jumped on me. Or I think the Spirit just jumped on me. I was meditating on different things, prophecies, the scriptures, the Most High, and His beloved Son. Yeah, you know what? Since I'm, speaking on the mic right now, I did a video earlier that I uploaded. It was dealing with the name of the name of the Lord and His Son's name. I, you know, went into it. I went into the blue letter and broke it down and everything. When you go to the blue letter and you look up the name Yahweh, they're translated as Jehovah. They'll translate it in different ways. And then look up the word, when you look up the word Yahweh Shai, as I said in the previous video, the name of the Lord and the Son, the name so-called Jesus. When you go into the Hebrew in the blue letter, it says what does it say? Yahweh Shawai, which is spelled Yahweh Yahweh Shawai. Which when you go back the name Joshua, it says the same thing, Yahweh Shawai. But if you break the word up, you go back to the name that Joshua was called, that his father gave, or his family name, the name that he was born with. His name was not Joshua, but Hoshea. Just like you have the king of Israel during the time of Shalmaneser. The king at that time was Hoshea, King Hoshea, during the time of Shalmaneser the fifth, which King Hoshea and Joshua name was given to him when he was born is also Hoshea, or in the Hebrew, as we say it, Hawashai. And when you look up that word, it means deliverer or savior or salvation. Now, when you go to the book of Matthew, the first chapter, and you read about the genealogy of the Lord, the angel Gabriel told his parents, starting with Joseph, Yahweh, which means he will add. He told them, name him. I'm saying it verbatim out of the scriptures. Name him Jesus. Um, and then he goes on. It goes on to say, for he shall save. He, Yah, shall save Hawashai, his people. So they even broke it down. They even broke it down in the they broke down the word Jesus, which is Yahweh Yah Hawashai. It's not the Most High's name. It's not Yahweh meaning Yahweh, and the Shai means save. No, it's Yah, He, Hawashai, salvation. So that's what the angel said. He said, call him Yahweh. It said because he will save his people from their sins. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Shalak Rayam, this asshole in front of me that cut me off. Anyway, moving on. And it was a Jake, looked like one of the Latin tribes. Yeah, these oh, well, that leads me into something else. It's been on my mind that, with all these shootings, you got out there in Chicago, you got all these shootings, and then you got, you got so-called police officers. It seems like they're always shooting down mostly Jake men, Israelite men. Well, I see a time coming in the near future that they're going to start killing off a lot of Jakes, hundreds of Jakes at one time. Buildings being blown up in Jake neighborhoods. And then they're going to give you the old, it was a mistake, it was this, we didn't mean to do it. Now that's not a prophecy, that's not something that I had a dream on. It's just something that I see because Esau is showing his horns. So I mean, don't be surprised if you see that. I mean, you got this guy Donald Trump in office, and they're making a big deal about how they're deporting you know so-called Mexicans, which is the tribe of Issachar. And they had a thing on Channel 7 News in the New York area, or New York City area, where they had this one guy, and he looked to be Dominican to me. I gotta check out the story later, but he married a Edomite woman, and she was pregnant, and I guess they caught him on some. I think he had a charge of either smoking marijuana or selling marijuana years ago, and he had to go to court, and he skipped court, so he's being deported. He's being locked up, detained, and he's going to be deported. From being locked up and detained, they're going to deport. They're planning on deporting him. Now here he has a woman he's married to. It was years ago. He's a construction worker, and they're like, the hell with it. You're getting deported because of that marijuana charge. So these devils ain't playing. They're showing their true horns pursuant to Revelation 12, verse 12. And then you got the chip, which their plan is, and as we at Great Millstone been teaching from the very beginning when we got on YouTube, even before YouTube, we've consistently taught that the mark of the beast is the microchip. And if you put all the videos together that all the different brothers from Great Millstone that put these videos together with the topic of the microchip, there's got to be well over 5, maybe 10,000, because we're always putting up videos, whatever news that we get on the new information on the chip, we'll do a video on it. Hasten is coming is always doing videos on the chip. If he sees an interview on the chip, he'll put it up. If he sees somebody doing a lecture on the chip, because it's big out there in Europe, because those Edomites out there and those people out there in Europe, they're openly accepting it. So once they fully accept it, it's going to be, it's going to go from Europe to America. And now when you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, the 16th verse on down, where you can start at the 15th verse, the mark of the beast is going to be made mandatory by the beast. And who is the beast? The beast is NATO and the EU. We used to say NATO, which we knew EU was a part of it, but when you break it down, you got to say NATO and the EU, because they all work together. NATO is the military force of those different Edomite sovereigns coming together, and you have certain members that are NATO members that are also members of the EU, so that's the same beast. So that's those different nations, those different sovereign nations among the Europeans that are coming together. There's no so-called African or Chinese nations or North Korea or South Korea, or any other so-called dark nations. All the members of the NATO and the EU are all Edomite nations. So where is that microchip and NFC, which is the near field communications mandate, coming from? It's coming from those nations. That's why it's big over there in Europe. They have out there in Europe, they have chipping parties, and then they demonstrate what they can do with the chip. They don't need a wallet anymore. They can pay for things with the chip, which Nate said you couldn't pay for things with the chip, and he was proven wrong. Now, I want to say a few words on this guy. You know him as General Yohana. We know him as Yohana. he said years ago, going back and forth with this chip thing, he said that King Solomon had the mark of the beast. And I don't know how he came to that conclusion when the beast wasn't even set up yet. Because in the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, it goes into the line of those different beasts. The first beast was the Babylonians, which was a lion having eagle's wings, and the wings were plucked off, and it was stood up on his feet. That was the Babylonians. Then you had the Medo-Persians as the bear. One side of the bear higher than the other, which means that the Persians became the prominent power. It was a two-nation rulership, but the Persians were more prominent. Then you had the Greeks, which represent the leopard, and then you had and by the way, the leopard. There's a bust of Alexander the Greek, or the Creep, I call him. It's a bust of him made out of stone. You can see his face with a leopard skin, the head of a leopard that they cut off and made into a hat, and he wore it on his head. So that goes hand in hand with Daniel the 7th chapter, the leopard. And in Daniel the 8th chapter, he's known as the rough goat. And then you have a fourth beast, which is diverse from all the rest, and that goes into the horns and the crowns and the heads, 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns upon his head, which represents the pagan Roman Empire of 2,000 years ago. And then the Roman Empire came back into power. When you read Revelation, the 13th chapter, the first couple of verses said, "Behold, one of his head was wounded as it was to death, and behold, a deadly wound was healed." And that deadly wound being healed was NATO and the U coming back into power. So we know that history. If you've been down with Great Millstone, you know that history. You know it by heart. But anyway, Yohanan said that, to be called General Yohanan, he said that King Solomon had the mark of the beast. And we're going back, I don't know, 2009, 2010. So my thing is, well, wait a minute. The mark of the beast wasn't even in power. Because when you go to Daniel the 7th chapter, the Babylonian Empire came into power approximately 600 years BC, or BCE, as the biblical scholars say, before the Christian era. And the Medo-Persians came about after them, which is about 500 years BC. Then you had the Greeks. They came into power around 300 BC. And then you had the Romans, which came into power really when the Edomite Romans came into power, because the first Romans were the sons of Japhet, which were the Etruscans, which were dark-skinned people. Romulus and Remus, who were, the legend goes that they were suckled by a she-wolf. Well, Romulus, it was said that Romulus rose up and slew his brother Remus, and they named that place Rome after Romulus, which he wasn't an Edomite, he was Japhet. Now, when the Edomites came into power, they came into power. This was around 65 years before the Lord came on the scene. So about 65 AD, give or take a couple of years. So scholars argue about that. So how can Solomon take the chip when his line goes back about 1,000 years BC? So Solomon was on the scene before any of those beasts before the Babylonian Empire, the power or the height of the Babylonian Empire was on the scene. So, you know, if you really understand these scriptures, then you listen to somebody, you know, nah, this guy don't know what he's talking about, you know, or he's making it up. He also said that the Apostle Paul had the mark of the beast. Now, how in the hell can the Apostle Paul have the mark of the beast when you read Revelation, the 20th chapter, and the 4th verse? Because the Apostle Paul was one of the disciples, one of the servants of the Lord, and it says that they're not going to worship the beast, neither will they worship the image, or accept the mark in their hand or in their forehead. So for Yohanan to say that the Apostle Paul took the mark of the beast, well, that's not. Where's the evidence on that? Where's the scriptural evidence on that? And anybody that makes a statement, as far as the scriptures are concerned, you tell them to bring out give me the scripture on that. Give me the evidence on that. So now this beast, you had the pagan Roman Empire, and then you had the revival of the beast, which is NATO and the EU. So NATO and the EU, that's the beast that's gonna make the chip mandated throughout the whole planet Earth. I mean, once you understand these scriptures and study these scriptures, and you go over it over and over again, it's in your head. Now, the last prophecy, as I have said many times before, the last major prophecy before Armageddon is the chipping, to make the microchip mandatory. The RFID, NFC are mandatory. So, you know, we're right at the door. See, once that happens, everything's going to move fast. We're not going to be here for the next 5, 6, 7 years, you know, people getting chipped, and people are going to use a chip for 10 years or 8 years. And no, once the chip is made mandatory, and they pretty much deceive the people, because that's how they're going to make you take that chip. They're going to deceive you into taking that chip. They're going to say, well, look, if you don't take the chip, you're not going to get food stamps. If you don't take the chip, you're not going to get welfare. If you don't take the chip, you know, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. So you have a choice. So now if you know what the chip, the microchip is all about, then you know to reject it. Like I spoke to this one woman at DMV 2 months ago, and yeah, it was in January, 2 months ago. You know, basically we're going into the scriptures, and she had that proud. She was an older black woman. She had to be maybe like early 60s, and she had that proud look on her. She was talking proud, and then somehow we went into the scriptures, because she said, you know, I believe in my God. And I explained to her, I said, you know, eventually everybody's gonna have to take the chip. And I said, are you gonna take it, which is the mark of the beast? And she said, if I'm forced to, I'll take it. And I said, well, you know what's gonna happen to you if you take it. You'll be condemned. She said, I ain't gonna be condemned because I believe in my Lord Jesus. Well, she didn't know. And I said, you know what, well, I was ready to go anyway. I got my information and I left. And this is to show you that these people that claim to know the scriptures, there's a few of them that know about the mark of the beast. But these Jakes, you know, Jakes in the Baptist church, the Methodist church, these different so-called black churches, the Pentecostal church, they don't know about the mark of the beast. They don't know what the beast is all about. Now, some of them are waking up because they're watching Israelite videos. But I'm getting ready to close. You know, I said enough. But we're coming to the end of this thing, man. Once they make that microchip mandatory and deceive the people to receiving it, and the majority of Jake will accept that chip. And then shortly after, that's when you look for the missiles to come. That's when you look for Armageddon. That's when you look for all these troops going to the Middle East. And we got the right guy in office, my man Donald J. Trump. Because if anybody can kick this war off, it's him. And the ones of you that can't get it, hey, too bad. You're going to have to eat a missile or two. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.